Okay, hey guys. So today I am really sorry. I am coming to you live in my pajamas, still sick, in front of my bed. I know that bothers some people. There's nothing I can do about it. It's just where I am right now. I wanted to wear this cute scarf because my cute mother-in-law for Valentine's Day sent me this cute little scarf. So thank you, cute little mother-in-law.
It's cute. That's the running theme of the day. It's cute.
What's cute?
I don't know. It was a cute scarf from a cute mother-in-law.
She
On
is
a cute day
mother-in-law.
when my cute sickly wife is still cute.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can find you guys
Yeah, we got to find a chat
with some
window.
comments
So
and make sure that
bear
we're
with us
live.
just a moment,
So you
guys.
go ahead and talk for a minute while I'm looking
Well, I
for
can't
it.
talk. I'm
Sit there and look
You
pretty.
can't ever
Sit
talk.
there and talk pretty.
You can't ever talk with your mouth full. It's horrible. Rude.
We just hit 49,000 subscribers.
Hey, thanks everybody for being there. 49,001. So
It's not there yet.
it was back there actually. Go back, hit the back arrow twice. There. So yeah, see, it's got me eating. Hey Dutch, hey Aardvark, Simple Life Homesteading. So Mrs.
Is that
Red
Cocoa
Honey Homestead.
No,
Cocoa
that
petals.
is pink eye purple whole beans peas.
Peas. They're
Which-
peas. Don't call them beans.
Danny and
Ooh,
Wanda.
they'll get
Okay, so before I start, Danny and Wanda at Deep South Homestead, she just ordered a whole bunch more of her cookbooks, and they will be for sale at the Appalachian Homestead Conference. But I think they might also have them for sale on their Etsy store. Anyway, we got introduced to pink eye purple whole beans.
And here in the
Peas.
South. So good.
Pink eye purple whole peas.
Like black-eyed peas, but these are pink-eyed purple
Oh,
whole
so
peas.
good. We met them for the first time at Danny and Wanda's, and since then, they were better at Danny and Wanda's. I have to say that they were much better at Danny and Wanda's.
You don't like my cooking?
I do.
What the heck?
I think the way that Wanda prepares them when she cans them is different than doing it frozen, because even though Danny and Wanda don't season them when they can them, the texture and the flavor and the smell is much more homey than when we've done them from the frozen ones at the grocery store. So if you want some incredible home cooked meal ideas, go get Wanda's cookbook because it's incredible, and she does it gluten-free because Danny cannot eat gluten. So for those of you who are gluten-free, it's also wonderful. I've never eaten as well as I ate at Danny and Wanda's, and my mom is a good home cook woman, and yet I don't think I've ever eaten so much as when I was at Danny and Wanda's.
Just true.
I think that was part of the fun. We spent half of our time in the kitchen and the other half laughing in the living room.
For sure.
And then they went and they worked, and I just sat on my computer all day being lazy, which,
right,
is not my favorite memory from being there. What are you doing?
So, well, I'm trying to find.
Stop playing with it. You're going to mess it up.
No. So
Stop touching it.
Our chat's frozen, guys. Don't know what's going on.
Sometimes it takes a bit.
So, howdy, Randa Welker. Irma Hicks says hi. There we go. Simple Life back. It may be the water.
That's true. As far as like when you can it, that might indeed be the case.
Yeah. We have noticed the water tastes differently in different places.
Yeah, that's been a huge difference. We actually started buying bottled water when we were in New Mexico. And I don't know that we've bought it everywhere since then, but we were pretty careful about drinking it in New Mexico. I don't remember why.
So sorry to be eaten in front of everybody, but the pink eye purple holes are really good.
They're really good. The other thing that they made was they made this pecan crusted deer venison steak. They made venison steak that was crusted in pecan crumbs. That was incredible. And then there was the gluten-free cookies, and then there was the cobbler, and then there was the fact we had Christmas dinner. We had Christmas dinner with them, and that was incredible.
You're making my mouth water.
I know, and you're eating at the same time.
And dribbling it all over.
Yeah, and Rhonda said it is probably the canning. I like canning better than frozen. Yeah, I think the texture in them was was different, and you didn't have to cook them so long because you just had to heat them up.
Right.
Their greens were incredible. I loved their greens, and we just went out and picked them out of their garden, and so that probably had a lot to do with the flavor, was the freshness of the greens. Whereas a lot of times I think what you get in the grocery store is maybe, besides having been sprayed with pesticides and that kind of thing, just the freshness of their greens was incredible. Let's see. We have a bunch of new places to film, which I'm encouraged by. It's always nice to know 2 steps ahead where you're going, rather than feeling like...
But trying to predict 2 steps ahead, say, hey guys, you're 2 steps ahead here. This is what we think, and then it ends up...
It takes time, doesn't it? It's an incredible amount of work to try and line up that many different stops.
Nelson Homestead, hey, how are you? So.
Hello.
Hello. If she has a coughing fit, guys, you get to watch me beat my wife on the back.
Right.
So.
We're going to Georgia for the tiny house convention to see what people are doing. We have run into some tiny homes that we think would be livable, but the price tag is prohibitive. For one thing, we don't have a conventional paycheck, and thus if we did want to take out a small loan to do something like that, we couldn't get one, even though our credit is really good. So that, for a lot of people, that is the reason why they can't get into a tiny home. It's because of the financing. Even though they'd be able to pay off the tiny home in 5 years, nobody wants to loan it to them because it's a tiny home, and banks don't really know what to do with that. So...
Well, it's not conventional.
Yeah, it's not conventional.
And if it's not conventional, it's not worth it. So, sorry, that was the anger and resentment speaking.
So we have several different options to look at. We think the arched cabins were pretty cool. We are going to go stay with a friend that we've already visited once, and he had already offered to explain to me and show me how to do framing so that we had an idea to be able to do it when we got home. And so we're trying to be prepared when we get home to be able to just jump into it.
Down the dirt road 2016, have you thought about building one? We have, and that's one of the kind of why we would like to learn how to, frame out a house and get it all finished up.
We just don't have any carpentry skills, like zero. And so it's just a few practical skills that we haven't yet gained. And the thing is that we have to have somewhere to stay when we get home. And so right now we're thinking about renting a room in a sister's basement. We've already lived in some small places that didn't even have plumbing and that kind of thing. And so living in somebody's basement for a few months while we get a tiny house built is actually a fine thing. And so we have different options. Hopefully John is going back to school. He's trying to get all the paperwork finished to be able to do that. And we still have some filming that we can do close to home once we get home. But hopefully we'll have enough of an interesting journey as we're doing what we're doing. Here's the thing that a lot of people who are trying to save money and build their own homes and be mortgage free is that while you're doing all that, you still have an occupation. Most people can't just write a check and be like, now I have all the supplies to build my tiny home. They're working full-time jobs and they're trying to build their tiny home part-time. What was the other channel that was doing that? It was the Lowry family?
Lowry Family Homestead?
Because I think they've had some videos of it lately. I think so, because I think, and another show that's doing that is Better Together. I think is another one. I think it's Better Together, and they've been looking at like sheds and building onto trailers and different options, and they have larger families than we do. Let's see, what did it say? Did you know I can put people in user timeout? Please, people, say something.
Aardvark got his wrench.
Awesome. One of the things that we have found to be really interesting is that
down the dirt road, my hubby's building them for a company in North Idaho. Cool.
There is a tiny house company close to us. They're in Utah. It's in Pleasant Grove, Utah. And that's close. And the home that we thought was interesting that we saw of theirs was still $40,000, which is still more than a bank will give you for a tiny house. And so if you can't come up with it with cash, it's an interesting situation. Even if you have really, really good credit, it's hard to get any kind of a loan for it.
Doug and Stacy in the house.
Hey, Doug.
Hi, Doug. Hi, Stacy. What's up, Jomstead homies?
We have become Nordic.
Yeah, right. Homestead Jomies.
And so I think one attractive thing, hey Tina G, one attractive thing we've thought of is that they do have the Amish built sheds in our area that a lot of people take up and put as a cabin somewhere for them to live in. We could buy one of those and we could just finish the inside of it while we still lived in it, because it comes with windows, it comes with a door, and we would be there in the summer.
So put up the insulation and then interior. I mean, they'll build the lofts in there for you as well. So just to your specifications. And so then it's a matter of just do the interior. Doug says, whoop, whoop.
Doug is the life of the party. Sorry. The one thing that might be a concern.
Yeah. See, that covers me going.
We already have renters there, and it is nice to be able to take a shower. It wouldn't be a big deal to just rent one of those blue outhouses to be brought out so we could live out there, and we could live off grid.
Take a shower in that?
Yeah, honey.
Okay. Just
totally
making sure that we
what a great
got it
point.
figured out. All right. Hey, it's a wet bath. It'd work.
Yeah, a chemical bath.
No.
That's great.
Go ahead.
And so it would mean that we could live there off grid, but we wouldn't have anywhere to take a shower. It wouldn't be a big deal to wash dishes and that kind of thing, and just go put it in a trench that we had dug to water some trees, to go take wash water and that kind of thing out. But showers, we would have to go to friends' homes or go to families' homes to go shower.
Or the little blue building. Or the little blue building.
What little blue building?
The wet bath. Go ahead. Now I'm just giving you crap. So
go ahead.
No, that's good.
Go ahead. Tell the rest of the story.
Okay. So, they have that blue water in there that's perfect for cleaning things up. It would be adorable and amazing. You can see that her fuse is a little shorter when she's sick.
No, I'm just waiting for you to finish your story.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So hi everybody, it's John. Welcome to Dirt Patch Heaven. Yankee 4, how's it going? Lucy. So, what'd she say? Sorry, you're still copying. Florida was hard on you guys. And Josh Wilson says, big hands back here. Thank you. It's good to know that we're wanted. Yeah, we've kind of found ourselves being homesick recently. Not that we're not loving, the adventure of being out here, but at the same time, it's, I kind of miss home.
I had to go get pictures for the new website that Tangi's getting put up, and that was the hardest part, was seeing all my pictures from past gardening years and goats and things like that, and that did make me pretty homesick. The Simple Life Homesteading the Pioneer Way says, we got our materials at Lowe's on the 18th month, same as Cash Deal they have every year, and I had the Amish build one, and my son-in-law is building the others. I now have 3 in materials for another. That's awesome.
Nice. That is a great way to do that.
I think there are ways to get around this, or to use the system in a way that doesn't get you in trouble. I think it depends a lot on your skill level. For us, because we don't have the skills, it feels like more of a should we really be the ones doing this? And so I think in a perfect world, what we would probably want is to go out there and already have a septic put in, and have an electrical line be put from the main house, and another meter put on for the tiny house. I think that would be a great way to do things, but it's not really off grid, and I don't know that it would necessarily be.
Does anybody hear the dog snoring in the background?
I do.
Okay. I'm just checking. Hey, Lori. Lori Family Homestead's up. So, actually, ma'am, would you mind? We were talking on PM. Did you get my response? I don't even remember. You may have. We may have been talking and I lost count. Anyway, sorry. Back to the show. So.
Okay, so Adventurous Aardvark said, how do you know if you're homesick if you're already sick? That is true. And this is, I haven't got out of bed all day. I hadn't been coughing this much until I got out of bed again so we could do the live show. And that could be true. A lot of my homesickness could actually be from the fact that I'm sick. I've been homesick for about as long as I've been sick, which is about 2 weeks. So, yes.
Yay, back to Idaho, she says.
Yes, yay, back to Idaho.
We are happy to go back.
It's okay. I can't have that excuse when I'm sick. When I'm sick, I go and I just completely absorb everybody else's videos and don't get anything else done. So, Leslie Yankee Force said, I'm real close. I am real close to now not needing power at all from the co-op. Our solar is rocking no goals and more power bills. That's
congratulations. That's awesome. So, Anita Logan's asking where we'll live when we go home. So we were just talking about that, actually. We're trying to figure out if we frame out our own little house, if we put up a cabin, if we live in a van down by the river, if we...
Well, that's not an option. No, I won't live in
vans.
I would
be river.
I would be working on the tiny house and working on gardening and stuff like that. And you need a warm place to go after having been working out in the spring when you're all wet and you're all dirty. And so we are looking at living in one of our family members' basements for a few months. And if we're going to build a tiny house, that's how we'll do it.
A few days. I love my family, but it'll be a few days. Anyway, go ahead.
Because it would save us a lot of money that we could then put on the tiny house if we didn't have to pay full rent and if we didn't have to go out and sign a lease. And we do, with the kids and everything, we need a warm place where they can play, where they'll be safe. And unless we had a tiny house that was already plunked down on the property so that we knew we'd be warm at night, it would probably be a good idea for us to be somewhere warm.
Yeah. So better divulge the whole story. Lori is asking if we're flying home.
So
we are starting the journey back, having learned everything from the journey down. We're hoping we can make it a little bit more smooth. Right?
I'm just listening to what you're saying.
Are you now? Okay. So no, we are not flying back. We're going to drive back. We're going to hit three or four or 5 states still on the way back. Catch some of the places that we didn't catch on the way down because we either didn't know about them or couldn't get to them. And along the south and then up, towards Idaho, and be in there either somewhere between the middle of April or the 1st of May. So, let's see, John, you going to be a motivational speaker too? See, people understand.
Tina, we've never seen a tiny house that was repoed, but we have seen a lot of tiny houses that people started to build. They got halfway into it and then they decided that they didn't want it anymore. Either it turned out to be too complicated for them to build, or they got into it, they lived in it for a little while and they're like, this is too small, something about it didn't suit them. And that's why I think that having a trip like what we've done is an amazing thing if you're thinking of getting into a tiny house. It gets you used to living in tiny spaces. It gets you used to getting along with people in tiny spaces. And it lets you know when you've gone too small, where you're like, this is too small. But if we go to this, it would be perfect. And this would be way too big, but this would be perfect.
So Doug and Stacey are asking, what about them? We're getting there. We'll get there. Sorry, Doug. It's taking a long time to get into Missouri is the problem. But we will get there. So.
I thought we were still going to try.
Yeah, we're trying. Oh, did you want to try for spring?
I thought on our way through we were going to try still.
Okay, well, we might get there sooner than I had originally thought, too. So
we have 2 extra weeks
I promise.
that we're going to be spending in Oklahoma, where previously we thought we were going to be spending 2 weeks in Alabama. That's changed. Now we're going to be spending 2 weeks in Oklahoma. And it's changed us up a little bit in the way that we're going across the country as far as what dates will be there. So we are still trying to get to Doug and Stacey.
The question becomes...
The question is, today we finally figured out what we're doing for Georgia.
Right.
And we're like, okay, we have these many days in Georgia, and we know at what point we're making it to Danny and Wanda. And beyond that, everything in between Georgia and Danny and Wanda, we haven't figured out. But we have figured out Florida to Georgia. Exactly. And it took us 4 hours to do it.
That was a good time. And Jennifer Flowers in Idaho, representing.
Let's see. Yankee 4 said, I can't do the tiny thing, but I love your videos on all those new videos you guys are doing. They're so much fun. Well, and we think we're fun too. Well, we think we're fun, but we think they're
she
fun.
thinks I'm fun, but not on camera. So, Missouri is a day trip from Tulsa, says Aardvark. Okay.
See, and at different times in our trip, we have thought that the tiny thing is not for us as well. I think if you're not traveling tiny, if instead you're stationary tiny with some beautiful property that allows you to get outside of the house for the most part, which is how I love to live anyway. I'd rather be outside than inside. I think that it really depends on your living situation. If you don't spend a lot of time in your home, if you're just there to sleep at night, if you're an avid gardener, if you're an avid livestock person, if you use your house to cook, you use your house to sleep, and a light amount of entertaining, I think a tiny house is okay. But if it is not well designed and you are not in a situation that it's happy to not be in your house a lot, I think they would be miserable, just miserable.
I'm just watching comments. Nearly Organic and Rain Country both made it. Hi, ladies.
So Adventurous Aardvark said Missouri is a day trip from Tulsa. So that's what I thought. I don't know. Isn't it like straight up?
Yeah, no, it's up and then west and
yeah. So
we've got a couple places in Arkansas to work on. So I worked it on it.
Yeah, John.
When the map looks like dots are like everywhere, it's like, okay, how do I make a straight line out of this?
Because we can't. A lot of them are filming locations and visits. And we haven't done that in such a tiny space. Right now, we're literally just in the minivan. And I think that it will be more comfortable for the family to drive in than what we were in before. But it means that we'll be in a lot of Airbnbs, and we're going to be using a tent when we're not in Airbnbs. I refuse to be in hotels again. I won't do it. I won't do it. And so...
B Lady April asking for some Florida. We are heading out next week. About the first.
Did Rain come in?
Yeah, Rain's here.
Oh, hey, Rain.
Heidi, howdy, Heidi. Patrick around? Heidi, oh.
I saw his gathering firewood video this morning. It didn't look cold enough to be gathering firewood anymore, though.
Right.
I guess the nights are getting cold still. Let's see. Oh, that's nice.
Yes, she did. Oh, did you email it? Thank you so much. I will go look them up. My computer's right here. So
I'm kind of, one thing that I thought about that might be interesting to do is on our way down, one of our first stops was in Lyons. And you've seen a lot of those videos of that little wedding venue where they had all those tiny houses set up. It was in Colorado, which is a big tiny house place because a lot of the towns, cities there are very expensive to live in because they're tourist traps. And so they have these tiny houses that are, for what they are, it's not expensive. We haven't lived long-term in a tiny house yet. I think it would be interesting to do that, to actually live in a tiny house for a month. And more importantly, I would really love to hand pick the tiny house that we lived in. I've seen somewhere I'm like, yes, we could totally live in this one. And it didn't have to do with size. It had to do with the way that they built the inside, the way they had the furniture and the layout working. And so I kind of wonder if maybe we got into one of the least expensive. Why are you grinning like this, you cheese? Cheese on a stick is the look on your face as you play with your
she absolutely
horrible whatever that thing is called.
Doing this.
Okay, so he shaved his whole face except for this tiny little thing. Soul patch, is that what they call it? Oh, it's horrible because he'll sit there and he'll straighten it and it.
Tristan, this is my thinking look.
I really like beards. And I don't like. I have never before not liked facial hair on my man. I like facial hair on my man. I do not like this Sam I am. It's horrible. Anyway, makes my hair crawl.
So Shannon, I did get the email. Thank you. Go ahead.
What were we talking about?
I don't know. I'm straightening my
Oh,
beard.
so the size that we wanted when we went and looked at these Amish built shed shells. The one we wanted was the 14 by 30. If it was to be something that was going to absolutely be big enough for us. But what if we went and got a smaller one that was half the price and put it out there? One that could be put back into the property without having to take fences down or anything. That could be put back on the property. We could finish it. We could live in it, and it would be less expensive, and it would be easier to use as an Airbnb. And if the county came after us about it, the fact we had it there, it would be a lot easier. Why do you keep smirking? You have like this
comments.
Now the comments
are just awesome. So
and I'm not reading them, so it makes me feel like people are making fun of me because you got like this hut. They're making fun of me in the background.
No, we've got the side conversation going. In fact, in fact, Heidi thinks you're funny. She says, "Sam, I am hot." So go ahead. Okay, and that way, if the coding for the county came out and didn't want it back there, it would be easy to take it out. And again, it would cost less. It would cost half, not only to purchase but also to finish. And a couple of people are commenting about how expensive tiny homes are. They are, if you have somebody else do them, and if you don't necessarily do the work. And I would chalk that up to the convenience fee.
It's about $5,000. The one we would be looking at, if it was about half that size, if it was more of a tiny house size and it was just the shed shell, they're about $5,000 where we are, maybe $7,000 at the most. And so we would have something that would keep the rain off our heads while we finish the inside. It would give us some practice.
It's kind of a community head. I guess we all just kind of share this brain. So.
We have brain share. So I think that might be something interesting, but we're kind of trying to put down stakes in certain parts of what we're going to do and say, for sure, this thing is going to happen on this date. And it makes us feel like less jumbled in our brain, because at this point we have so many options that would sound like a really good thing. Like, wouldn't it be great to have the world at your feet as far as like, hey, we could do anything we want to do at this point, but it's not so great. It starts to kind of mesh in your brain a little bit and feel like,
what?
Mr.
It's not even, no, I'm listening and I'm reading. Patrick's not here, so they can't banter like they were last week.
So you're bantering in your mind.
I'm bantering, yes. You're like
hilarious. Volley and whack back.
Serve. And return.
Yeah, and you're just sitting there in your mind having ping pong with Rain Tree, and Rain Country, and she just doesn't even know what's happening.
Go ahead, dear. Sounds like you have your own little conversation going on in your head.
You keep looking at me like you're going to laugh at me, and usually that's the look you give me when somebody has said something nasty to me.
I'm straightening the goatee.
Don't straighten the goatee.
Go ahead. Amanda Albany, I like goatees. If that's how it's said. Yes, that's how it's said. But my husband's 3/8 native and can't even grow a mustache, so no facial hair for him. My brother-in-law, no, he grows it in really thick, but my sister hates it, so she makes him shave completely. Go ahead.
Okay, so Lowry family, I think weren't we talking about you? Aren't you building your house on the little trailer? I've been watching your videos lately, and I thought that's what you guys were doing. For those of you that want to see a tiny house being built, Lowry Family Homestead is doing one.
Tawana Lynn's in. Hi. How do?
Thank you, Aardvark. You are joining me in my own prayers. Yes. I've offered to get some scissors a couple times while we were in the car. It's bizarre because when he has a normal amount of hair, like he doesn't play with it the same way. Right. Now he just has this tiny little spot, and it's just like, ah. Okay, the master bedroom here is 150 square feet. Even that feels small after 5 days of being in a bed.
This is true.
Yeah, I hear that.
Anything feels small after being in a bed. So, let me up.
Yeah. What? I'm the one who's been stuck in bed for 2 weeks.
3. Anyway. Sorry.
Yeah. I've been watching your channel lately, Larry Family.
So what did she say?
Okay, we're building our house on a trailer and we'll move it to Idaho.
Yes. So, and how very exciting. So,
Down the dirt road said, just start kissing LOL. Yeah, that ain't happening with that thing. It's just.
It's fun. Here's terrible patches. Yeah, I was growing, actually, this right here, Amanda Albany says he grows in terrible patches and barely will grow any other sides. So this is about where it grows at all, and then it kind of comes in like the mange right here, you know, it's just horrible. So, go ahead.
It's the thing I really was attracted to when I met him was that he had this really nice goatee going on, and it was nice, and it's how I like him to wear his face.
But this 1 week,
one thing
that is in the Florida heat, and I need to get rid of a little bit of insulation. No, you just may as well just take it all off.
Okay, so Loretta asked, how is an Airbnb different than a regular B&B? So a regular B&B is just a bed and breakfast that's private. An Airbnb is one where they're all affiliated underneath the head of one company. They advertise as having an Airbnb, and it's nationwide. It might even be worldwide. I'm not sure, but I do know it's nationwide. And that way, if you're looking to be in someone's home or to be in a private home, you can find one anywhere that you want to. They have cleanup fees that are standard. They have cancellation fees that are standard, and they have to perform their business according to a certain level, because their reviews, if they're bad, they'll get pulled or they won't do business with them anymore. So it gives you more safety in that the program itself knows where you are. There's a record of you having been there, and you can read the reviews of what other people have said. So I think it's like, I don't know, it's just a network of private homes, private individuals that you treat as a regular B&B, but you have a few extra fees that you pay for that safety.
Nearly organic. She saw on SwipSwap the other day, someone had a tiny house for sale. They could not keep it on property. Yes, I have noticed Florida is terrible for building codes.
The HOAs and everything.
Yeah.
Are some people apparently pay $300 to $500 a month just in HOA fees.
And yeah, and if not that, then the code enforcement will get you. So.
And I wonder if that's because they have so many tourists here that a lot of times maybe the streets would be congested and it would be unsightly if people were allowed to have RVs or storage campers or anything like that, because then people could live in them, and then it would make the town look like it was an RV park but in a neighborhood. And I think that's one of the reasons the laws here are so strict about it. You can't even have a cargo trailer here.
Right.
You can't. And so that's one thing that we had looked into, was doing a cargo trailer that was outfitted with windows and an air conditioner and a bed. The problem was it didn't leave enough sleeping room for all of us. And one of the things we're doing now is downsizing. We only took half of our stuff with us from Danny and Wanda's. The rest is in the RV. But now we're doing the same again. I'm mailing boxes of stuff home. And we're only taking the things that we use on a daily basis. No storage at all, because we're fitting all of it into the back of the minivan, plus the dog's cargo crate. That is going to take the most spaces. Sylvester's cargo crate.
Rebecca's here.
Hey, Rebecca, I got your note from was it a Christmas letter? I think it was actually your family Christmas card. I loved it.
Yeah. Let's see. Florida, not bad. We just got our own land and are zoned for rural animals, etc., right near Georgia. Yeah, there are places out in the country.
It was just in the cities that there's been problems with the zoning. Like, we're out here, and they can put anything out here they want to put out. There's nothing like that. And half the people here live in trailers, like single wide, double wide trailers, and so it's not like they could zone it in any way to keep out cargo trailers or RVs or anything.
Right. Well, yeah, it's once you get into city limits. So yeah, we're down here in the south half of Florida, bee lady. But Susan made it. Hi, Susan.
Where is she?
Up there a little bit.
Susan's I missed it. Hey, Susan.
So let's see. Down the dirt roads in North Idaho. Were you planning on returning home at this time, or did something change your plans? We were planning on returning starting about this time, because we had to be back up to set the homestead and the farm up for the tenants, because
they're not farmers.
They're not farmers.
And it took us.
They want to be.
It took me 5 years to get our permaculture to the point that it is now, And so we agreed that come time to set up the watering system, I would come back, I would set up the watering system for them, I would walk them through it, help them understand it, be there for when baby goats start to be born, help with anything they need help with, setting up the greenhouse, whatever that may be, and make sure that they're feeling secure in what they're doing. And if we decided to stay, we would bring a tiny home and set it up on a parcel of our own property away from their parcel, and be able to stay in that if we wanted to, or we could have the tiny house there and leave it as an Airbnb, maybe a way for our renters to make a little bit of money by keeping it managed, and we would go out and continue to travel if it felt like it. Or if we found a piece of parcel in another state, a parcel of land in another state.
Peter Piper picked it.
Yeah, that.
Okay.
Exactly.
A piece of parcel.
Did
he get a piece of parsley stuck between his teeth?
No, but I do.
Okay.
And so if we found a piece of land somewhere else that we really loved, we could have the little cabin on our property back home to stay in when we were in town to see family, but then to also have a homestead somewhere else that we could have another tiny house on. Because, I mean, if you think about it, if you can build a tiny house for $10,000 and put it on a piece of property, and when you're not there, you use it as an Airbnb, you know, you know, you have two of those in different places. Mm-hmm. That's not a big money mm-hmm. drain. You have it paid for quickly, and it means that you're freed from that, you know, $300,000, $200,000, $150,000 mortgage that would otherwise force you to think more seriously about both of you having to work full time. That would mean that, you know, your kids had to be in public school because there wasn't anybody to teach them. You just couldn't meet your bills, which I think is kind of the standard American lifestyle that's happening, is that because mortgages are so high, because groceries are so expensive, both parents are having to work in order to just maintain. And at the same time, they're kind of sinking a little bit. And so I think... Or a lot. And so I really feel like this is important for us to see if it can be done. Can it be done? Is this feasible? Is this just a pipe dream? Is the tiny house living and the mortgage-free living really something that brings happiness? Or are you happier in your big house and both of you working, and that is a happiness, you know? I personally feel like happiness is a well-tended garden and lots of fruit trees. I feel like for us, one thing that really surprised us about coming out here is that we spent more on food than we did on gas. Mm-hmm. And we weren't buying Cheetos.
Right. Yeah.
We were buying fresh fruits and vegetables. We weren't drinking a lot of milk. We weren't eating a ton of dairy. Mostly it was just fresh fruits and vegetables, some meat. And it was incredibly expensive to buy groceries, and it's one of the reasons why I still feel like the most important thing you can do is grow a garden. To help your family, the most important thing you can do for your budget and for your state of mind and spiritual reasons too, I think you grow a garden.
So Susan's asking when we're getting on the road. We're starting next week, and we're coming through, hitting nearly organic Nashing, working north and going into Georgia, and then Alabama, and then back down to Deep South Homestead, Mississippi, and then from there apparently maybe up to Missouri. So.
And B Lady Apiary said our lakefront 5-bedroom home was not that high, not nearly that high. Nice. See, and our house back home wasn't that expensive. It was not, for what we got a really good deal on it. But most of our neighbors that came in at the same time that we did, they were in subdivisions or they were building private homes close around us. Our house was flipped and also had been abandoned for 15 years, and we were the first ones to find it, and we got it, and it was an incredible deal for what we got. But most of the people around us, the average home cost is about $250,000, and sometimes
Thanks, California. Good job.
Well, sometimes that comes with property, and sometimes it's in a subdivision. If it's in a subdivision, it can be as high as $350,000 on like a 1/4 acre lot.
Thanks, California. Go ahead.
And I think that that's just going up. I don't think that that's going to level out and go down. And I think the size of the house makes a difference in how much it costs, how old the house is, the location. But I know that our mortgage isn't really high. It was incredibly affordable. We were making double payments on it, and it was doable. But that mortgage still tied us down to a certain job. It tied us down to a certain way of living, in order for us to get out from under the mortgage, which is what we wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Susan says she got lucked out and got hers for less than $100K at $500 a month. That's a good stinking deal. If you go the conventional, there we are with that word again. If we go the conventional route to getting a property, then to get any good property, that's really, really good. Yeah, especially 15 acres.
An area. I think area makes a huge difference. I have friends that are in Georgia that got a home and like 12 acres for $40,000. They sold their home back where they were. They paid for this new home with cash. But a lot of times those places are more appropriate for somebody that's maybe retired, that has a steady income coming in, because a lot of the really inexpensive land and inexpensive homes are in places where the economy is depressed, like Spur, Texas. It's a tiny house town, but there's no job. So unless you work online or you're willing to commute an hour into Lubbock,
2
hours?
It's almost 2 hours.
If you're not willing to commute 2 hours into Lubbock, then how are you going to support your family? And so drugs can be a problem there. They have no funding for schools. They have no funding for roads. They have no funding. And so that's kind of what we found, is kind of that wobbly ground of, don't buy property just because it's cheap, because it can bite you in the bum, especially if you're going to be farming, because there in Spur as well, the soil had been stripped because they've been doing cotton farming for a long time there, and it had stripped the soil of its nutrients, and it was just blowing away. Mm-hmm. And so
it was a dust bowl.
If you're going to farm, sometimes it's better to pay a little bit more. So I think that some of these depressed areas where it's easy to get cheap land are really great for a family that's established, has other ways of making income rather than doing it in the local economy. Maybe, and I think kids in particular just make a huge difference in where you feel like it's a good place to be.
Chefs for Her's got to run. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And then Yankee 4 said something about wanting to be free, and that's why they're doing solar.
Right. Oh, yeah, just get free of all the bills and all of the grid that's tying, what we were talking about, all the rat race. Everything that you can, if it's not necessary, if you can shed it or figure out some way to get somebody else to pay for it, that's kind of how we still ended up with the house. We realized we wanted to keep the farm. Not necessarily the house. We could have sold the house, but we rent the house out. Somebody else pays the bills.
And my parents, who was it that had a good point? Was it B Lady or Susan who said, it's too bad that land doesn't get, or no, it was Flying versus was Rebecca. It's too bad that farmland doesn't get passed down anymore. And one of the problems that we found is that a lot of times those farms come with some bills attached. And even if they don't come with bills attached, like a mortgage on the farm, a lot of times they come attached to a way of life that you don't want. My parents were willing to sell the farm to me for an inexpensive amount. But the house was almost 6,000 square feet. And even though it was equipped to do solar, and it had the root cellar, and it had propane set up and everything,
it could have been a completely off-grid house very easily.
At one time it had been off-grid. Yeah. But the thing was, is it still was this enormous house. We only had 2 children. And on top of that, there were the acres that needed the hay to be cut. There was the tractor that needed to be used. There was watering that had to happen very frequently. And John still doesn't like to farm. I like to farm. And so it would have required a whole other person to be there to help me. And I had 2 itty bitty kids that I wanted to raise instead of just being a farmer. So it made sense to me to go purchase something that was small in acreage, smaller house, and make it so that our life could be more balanced rather than going for the bigger acreage and the bigger house. But having lived in that smaller acreage, smaller house where we were before, I still want to downsize the house. I don't want to be spending time in the house cleaning. I would rather spend all my time outside, unless I'd really rather not have a mortgage on something that I just spend all my time cleaning.
So we keep it rented.
So we keep it rented and put a tiny house.
Right. So renters, if you're watching, stay there. You're welcome to stay as long as you want. So nice. Yeah, Yankee 4 was the one who was talking about shedding the grid. He lives on $720 a month. 500 of that is rent and land payment. Yes, makes you be cheap. Yeah, and
we did that before we left. It was one of those. Should we stay? Our bills are so low here. Should we go?
Mm-hmm.
And
because our mortgage hovers right around $600 a month.
Yeah.
And
we had food storage. We had 5 years of food storage. We had the animals. We had enough wood and hay for the whole winter. We had no bills. Mm-hmm. But what it came down to was that in working so hard on the property to get it up and going and everything, we were working ourselves into the ground. And we weren't spending time doing fun things with our kids. And it's starting to kind of hurt our hearts a little bit that we weren't doing fun things with our kids. So this was our sabbatical, where we kind of regrouped and said, do we want to reappropriate funds and live differently than we are now? We're secure enough in our finances that we can take a few small risks and change the way that we do things. Let's go find out if we want to do a tiny house. Let's go find out if we want to build a dome. Do we want to build a dome? Do we like domes? Because John really wanted to do a dome.
Still want to.
Yeah. And so we went out and we wanted to, if we were going to change our whole lifestyle, we needed to go out and research it thoroughly rather than just kind of jumping at possibilities.
Well, B Ladies says that is, that mortgage isn't bad or taxes high. Taxes are getting high. This
You guys need to go take a shower.
This little red state that we're living in is getting awfully big and blue, and well, and I don't mean of red versus blue, I should say. They're becoming more intrusive and taxing us more and more. I just paid off the next projected shortage of the escrow for the property taxes, and it was another 100 and something for the last 6 months, to which they'll reassess and then say I'm another 100 short again, because this has happened 5 years running now.
We want to have more wiggle room. We were at the point where we could pay our mortgage, we could take care of the things we needed to for our family, but if something happened to our house where we had to do any kind of major remodel, like put new siding on, we couldn't afford to do that and do it without going into debt. And so here we are trying to pay our house off so we can be debt free, and yet we can't really keep our house maintained. Mm-hmm. And that feels really awful to me.
Kim Hilder just backed me up here. She says living in Idaho is quickly becoming too expensive for us. Yeah, 13 years ago, housing was reasonable compared to wages. Now houses are expensive, and wages aren't keeping up. Exactly right. And that's where we were. We started to the point where we were just barely treading water, keeping all of it in the, juggling it all, keeping it in the air.
Wow. So taxes. That is one of those things where a lot of people, like back when farmers started to come off the land, a lot of them could have held on and made it if it wasn't for taxes. Mm-hmm. Because taxes they don't go away, and they don't care whether or not you're making a living on your property. That's one of the reasons why farmers had to come off the land, was because of taxes. And I think, but here's the thing. I believe you can make so much food even with a little backyard plot by putting in fruit trees and putting in a garden and raising some chickens. And I think taxes are horrible, and I think that growing a garden helps you kind of emotionally fight back against that, in that you're going to hold on to as much money as you possibly can from what comes in, because it feels like extortion. It just feels like extortion.
It is. It's legalized robbery. It's a shakedown. You
have to pay taxes on your property. You have to pay taxes on your income. You have to pay taxes on everything under the sun.
Except, as there we go, Kathy Seaman, I think. Yeah, no income taxes in Tennessee.
That's wonderful.
Just saying.
Right. I feel like For us, for most of this trip, we had no debt. The mortgage was being paid for by the renters. We didn't owe on a car because our cars were paid off and we sold our other cars. So we had savings. Plus we had the renters taking care of the mortgage. And that feeling of if we needed to just plunk down somewhere and stay for 4 months, we could, because we had no bills, 0 bills. And that feeling of 0 bills was pretty incredible. We have one bill now. We have one bill because we went and bought a minivan to be able to travel the rest of the way home. And it seemed like the better wisdom to have something super safe and to have something that when we got home we could still keep using, or we could sell it if we wanted to. And so we now have that.
Barry just got in.
Where's Barry?
Yeah, well, the comments are coming a little faster. So. Barry's being an interviewee. Exactly. Susan just nailed it. If you could sum up your trip in one sentence, what would that sentence be? That's what Barry said. Think about that for a while. Let's talk.
It's been adventure.
Also,
I would say our one word is adventure. Adventure's not always pretty. Adventure is the right word, though.
Gaddy Anton says Nevada also collects nor shares income tax type data. Cool. Yeah, and if I remember right, Nevada, well, they have a lot of gambling revenue that comes in at Nevada, so that's definitely a nice state.
Hey, Chanel.
Although that whole spot in the middle, right around, is that Mojave? That's not Mojave. That's Death Valley.
So
yeah.
Shadell with Delectable Mountains, she's having her own adventure in Oregon right now, and they're looking for property and have dream homes to put together. And I think it's so fun to see everybody else having these life adventures, you know, safe life adventures. It's not like we're all heading off into nowhere and not caring about the happiness and health of our children. I think that for the kids, they do not see traveling as an adventure anymore. They want to go home and see Granny and Grandma. And I'm hoping to not have them think that adventure is a bad thing by once we get home and we're building a tiny house to go on some little like 2 or 3 day trips to go see family, to have it be fun again. Just because on the trip down, we did have some scary things happen, and we did have a hard time finding other children for the girls to play with. And it was at times very stressful. But I think it was really, really good for our family. I think we've been able to spend a lot of introspection, thinking about our family, thinking about our girls, thinking about each other. And it has been one of those pill from the Matrix, blue pill, red pill decisions about, are we going to live a life full of adventure and being purposeful? Are we going to live a life of conformity and safety? Kind of these 2 pills. Which one will we take? And I think after this adventure, we will not be able to choose a life of conformity again. It is a matter of us wanting to be able to go see people we care about and not being in debt.
Doug and Stacy.
Huh?
Doug and Stacy. You just said people we care about.
People we care about.
So we're there. Just give us time. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead.
Well, and I think the thing that keeps people from being able to go out and have these adventures is that big mortgage. This like, I can't go into foreclosure, it'll ruin my credit, but I don't want to pay this mortgage anymore. What do? I need to keep my family safe. And I really feel like that mortgage is that one big payment that cements people's feet to the ground. It's such a huge bill. It's such a huge responsibility. And I think by not having it, it opens up, why not? If I don't have that big bill, why not? Why not work for a job that I make less, but it doesn't really matter because all my bills are still paid? Why not?
Right.
Because for us, that was the big reason. It's not that we weren't adventurous before. We wanted to travel, but
we were always so worried about
we couldn't pay our mortgage.
Right.
Everything else we could kind of take with us and do whatever. And so when it came down to us being worried about, well, what are we going to do? John's hurt. Are we going to sell the house? Are we going to rent the house? Could we do that? Would it be feasible?
Hey, Minuteman Homestead, what's going on, sir? So, B Lady, we can't be in debt, but we'd real close. But we'd be real close to neighbors, drive us nuts. Yes, that's kind of the joys of living out in the country for sure. Let's see.
Yeah, I do think that the mortgage is a trap. And I do think a lot of that has to do with the size of our homes. You go and you look at our great-grandparents' homes that, unless they had 12 kids, were very, very, very modest according to modern standards. And I think, poor Tina.
I know, right?
Sorry, she's gasping a little bit over here. She's old. Susan said, you live to eat, eat to live. That has really been what has happened here, is that food has been a really big part of our journey. And when we haven't eaten well because we don't get as much exercise, we didn't feel as well. When we ate really well, we felt better. Here, being in Florida, we haven't eaten nearly as much meat. We've eaten a lot of fruit, lots of vegetables.
That's something weird too. We've just had no desire for anything hearty.
Yeah. Everything has just been, I'm hungry for fruit. I think we'll go for fruit again.
And so I can now understand the people who, actually I can understand like vegans or vegetarians a little better, because if they're down here, you really don't need to put on that many calories to get that insulation going,
right.
So yeah, that's been amazing. Yeah, Amanda, Albany, exactly. Central Texas is getting crazy expensive.
Hey,
we started
family.
looking at that. Holy cow. I could be 2 hours, 3 hours from anything, and it's just getting so spendy. Let's see. When your girls are older, you may enjoy your home. They can help more. This, maybe. What do you think? Do you want the 2,000 square foot home still?
I think, I loved our home. I didn't love cleaning it. And I didn't mind our home, but I didn't like cleaning it. And I had things I wanted to do with my life that did not involve a vacuum. And we had to vacuum every single day because we live on a farm. And I had all these chores outside to do, but I also needed to be a mom and homeschool and keep track of the girls. And so the housework that I had in the house was a full-time job with kids. And then the work outside that I needed to be doing with the animals was a full-time, at least a part-time job that not necessarily my kids couldn't always go with me in it. And so to my mind, I wanted to be with my kids. I wanted the kids to be able to do their chores without getting yelled at, without, being overwhelmed by the jobs I was giving them. I wanted to make it easier for them to obey me with chores. And so it made sense to me, if we downsized the house, it would be easier for them to be obedient to me. And I would hope that it would make it easier for me to spend more time with them in the house, that rather than doing cleaning, I could be teaching them how to cook more, and have them take a sense of pride in being able to take care of the house themselves, because it was smaller and had less carpet. No.
Go ahead.
Stop.
No, I just realized I wasn't doing it.
Stop.
I gotta irritate my wife some more. Let's see, Julian.
Well, and Susan said, while you're able to do things, we are now to the point that we have to slow down. I don't love to travel. I love to see friends, and I love to be in my garden. And I don't think that we will, besides coming back out and seeing people we've already committed to come back out and see, I have no intention of doing another grand trip. I have every intention of doing very purposeful 1 week, 2 at the most type trips, purposely to go do certain things. But I do not want to do another cross-country trip. It was too far from my garden, too far from my goats. My brain turns to mush when I don't have my goats. It's just the way that my brain works.
Simple life homesteading. You've nailed it. We could make 2 smaller houses by dividing the house into an apartment to rent out. And we so could do that with that house, where it's called a split entry. So you walk in the door and you could either go up or go down. The only thing that was holding us back was because we could put a kitchenette down in the basement. Super easy. It was already wired for 220, so plug in an oven, stove, and there it was going. What didn't work was the laundry facilities. And they were down in the basement, and we would need to figure out something upstairs. But that was a thought that was on our mind, because that could still pay the mortgage, and we could live there.
Yeah, we thought about it. Bee Lady asked, Julie, do you think you were doing too much? And here's the way that I look at that, is that
I'd like to jump in on this too.
The way that we were able to put so much money into savings, put so much money onto the mortgage, was that I was planting fruit trees, I was planting a garden, and I was trying really hard to stay healthy by having us eat healthy food. And for me, it was all very holistic. What became difficult was that we didn't buy meat. We didn't buy meat. We raised our own meat. We raised our own dairy with the exception of cheese. I didn't make cheese all the time. And so we bought a little bit of fruit from the grocery store, and we bought some food storage items. That's all we were buying at the grocery store. And so we ate really, really decadent food, really amazing food, and we stayed really healthy and active and everything on it. And in order to not be paying huge amounts of feed bills into our animals, I was harvesting from the land. And it's intensive to raise the animals the way that I did so that it wasn't expensive. At certain points, I was raising animals for other people and they paid for my animal. And then I fed the animals, and then one other person paid for the feed that needed to come in, so that we actually didn't have any money going out for this pig. I was just putting all the labor in for everybody else's pig, and they stayed on my property. We did that several times. And in the end, what came down to was we couldn't afford the pigs anymore. We had tried it that one last time, and at that point, I did have too much on my plate. John was hurt. He couldn't help with anything. And so I was really doing everything. And it crashed and burned because I was doing too much. And I was expecting, or not expecting, I was begging for the girls to help me more. But we were still, I had all this food ready to just put into the freezer. So the switch off was that if I didn't have that much on my plate, we weren't feeding ourselves. Things would have had to be purchased at the grocery store. And I don't eat well. I don't do well when I'm eating food that is from the grocery store. I don't drink store-bought milk well. We do okay with the meat.
Mm-hmm. Well, around here it's local meat too.
Yeah. So I don't know the answer to that as far as like, was I doing too much? When money got tight and I knew that for free I could feed my rabbits by planting a whole garden just for the rabbits, I did that. And we got the infrastructure in place. And that was really incredible to see that we could do it. And we were living on very little money a month when John was hurt. And so at the end of him being out of work for 6 months, we had actually increased our savings rather than decreased it. And it was a huge amount of work. Mm-hmm. And I was still making YouTube videos, and I was still doing Etsy. Mm-hmm. I had a lot on my plate. We were trying to figure out if we could find a way to not have to leave the house. And in the end, it was probably God's way of just saying, when the pigs died, and I just couldn't keep up, I think maybe that was God's way of saying, no, you need to go on this trip. You're killing yourself to keep this house. You're killing yourself to pay this mortgage. And you need to go on this trip because you need to learn another way of life where you're not killing yourself in order to hold on to the things that you feel you're morally bound to do, which is to feed your family and keep a roof over their head. Did I say that right?
Well, we have fed our family and kept their, could keep a roof over their head at any time. This whole time.
Yeah, we have.
So maybe it was him showing that it didn't have to be exactly that way. So we didn't have to kill ourselves trying to do it where we were, the way we were.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Did I not say it that way? That's what I meant.
Maybe.
Was you don't have to kill yourself.
I dozed off halfway through. So.
You're so sweet.
So, let's see. Bob Hale, new subscriber here. Wow. Californian, $21,000 in new home in 1968 is now worth $469,000.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That is rough. Let's see. Oh, trailer mold center. Yeah. Yeah, trailers are mold centers occasionally, or can be. Somebody asked what we were doing with the RV. So Deep South Homestead has it right now. They were offering to let us park it there because it was just, no matter what, it was not going to cool off in Florida. And no offense, but y'all drivers out here are crazy on the freeway. Just saying. Floridians.
Who was supposed to be after us? Does anybody know who's,
Brad's
who's up after us?
Brad's after us at 8. So we have
8?
time.
Okay.
We got time. So anyway, Florida highways are crowded, congested, and 100 miles an hour nonstop. And was not going to fly in an RV that could only do 60 at a very, very top speed. So Danny and Wanda down at Deep South offered to hold on to it, and then they let me know that they would be interested in.
We were just going to drive it. We were going to drive it to the local lot,
wrecking yard, and just
have them take it off our hands.
Consignment here, take it for what? Sell
that's
for whatever.
That's what we were going to do. Yep. And then WeTree had asked for it.
Yep.
But the problem was we couldn't get it to her safely, and we didn't want her driving it.
Yep.
And we just were really scared to have anybody drive it because John is a really good mechanic, and him being a good mechanic just.
I couldn't be there to fix it when they when it broke down.
And we don't want somebody that we love to die.
Right. So
a horrible death in this RV.
Yeah, and Danny's a pretty good mechanic too. So.
But he's just going to leave it on his property.
Right.
That's what he said. He's leaving it on his property.
So they just kind of said, yeah, if you don't want it, we'll take a stab at it. And I'm like, great. I'll find the title. Here you go. So it is going to be a Deep South Homestead project.
Permanent fixture.
Right.
Never to be driven again.
It's the add-on to the place, the mother-in-law house. So if anybody else wants to go visit down there, they do have a room for you. It sits on 4 wheels. Anyway, where were we? Julie, how is Trish doing?
She's sick too.
Yeah.
We think it's black mold that she has. We think it's black mold that I have. That's pretty much where we both sit. She's suffering right now because she's trying to get through cleanse to see if she can get it out of her system.
Yeah. Lucy nailed it too. Hey, John, most Florida drivers are from New York this time of year. Yes.
That is so true.
Florida, I have decided just to nickname it South New England because seriously, every plate up here is New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Illinois. So, yeah, it's just.
You want to go check on the girls in the shower? Should we
I think I will.
Call it a night?
No, it's just getting wound up. So it's a party in his house.
No.
Whoop, whoop.
You get more animated the longer we go.
I know. That's because the comments are getting, rolling through. I mean,
Flee Florida.
Flee Florida.
Well, we will be in another week.
Right. So, although it might be a mosey rather than a flea, but.
I don't know. We've got a few spots we're going to see where it's just very fast between ping, 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 ping.
Yeah. Once we start, so Tuesday morning we're leaving, and after that it is just nonstop. So, Noshing, are you still here by chance? Anyway, there's I'll text in and see what's going on. What's going on?
And Permaculture Homestead is going to be the first YouTuber to go visit Deep South and use that trailer. Oh, B Lady said she misses my makeup. I miss my makeup videos. I don't know if you've noticed that there's a difference between me now and when I'm in front of my blue wall. I would say that I do miss my crafting room quite a bit. I had it so pretty with people, like I had Helen Whitney's. I had her lovely embroidery up. I had my quilt from Defender of the Wheat. I had my grandma's quilt on the side next to me. I just felt surrounded by all these people that I loved in that room. And I think it made a difference in how I look on camera, because now I seem to always look so tired on camera, and I don't want to talk about makeup because my surroundings aren't very pretty. So I'm hoping if we hit a place where we stay a little bit longer and I can make it a little prettier, then I can do more of my makeup videos. As you study my face like, no,
actually I'm reading comments. And,
you did. You totally looked at my cheek. Why did you look at my cheek? What are you saying?
I was actually reading Shadell's comment. She's from South Florida down here. She says she'd never come back. See, and I think the same of Idaho. I mean, not that I don't hate Idaho. I really love the mountains, by the way. I so miss them from down here. But the perpetual dry and perpetual cold, that's that's the 2 seasons up there, dry and cold. So
You don't
Go
spend
ahead,
enough time outside in the garden. You need
where
to
it's
learn how to
dry and
garden.
cold.
No. So Permaculture Homestead said, I know y'all miss the garden animals. Yes. I do. John doesn't really miss it. The girls miss the goats. You don't miss it. I know you don't miss it.
You know how much I miss firing up the chainsaw? That's something I will miss for a long time.
But your back can't handle it.
I so miss. I've got the second biggest one that Husqvarna makes. The thing is like 31 pounds, and it's huge, and it's awesome. And I just think Tim the Toolman Taylor, because that saw is just that cool. And I want to mount it on my wall in the man cave just to say, this is cool. That's it. Okay. Go ahead.
So it can drip oil on the white carpet.
Well, hopefully there's no carpet in a man cave.
There was in your man cave.
I know, right?
Okay, so Impatient said, I thought you were wearing makeup. I am wearing makeup, but I used to do how-to videos on my organic makeup. And I haven't done any of those in a long time. In fact, I have a haul behind me of one of my favorite makeup product companies that sent me some stuff to try. It's, oh goodness, what is it? Urzuli on Etsy. It's Urzuli Cosmetics. It's one of my favorites. The other one is the All Natural Face. I love them both. Mm-hmm. And then my favorite organic mascara is made by Red Apple Lipstick. That's the actual company. Red Apple Lipstick makes a really nice mascara, but it's incredibly expensive. I haven't bought it for like a year because it's $30 for a tube of mascara, which is very expensive.
Stacy Sayer is asking, do y'all have any trips planned for Virginia? I don't think Virginia particularly was on the map. Maybe.
We do.
I guess if anybody,
if
anybody still wants us to stop by, email us, dirtpatchheaven@gmail.com, and put host in the email, and I can always put plots on the map. I can't guarantee anything.
The problem is that we have something of a route at this point, and we're planning on coming back out and hitting the Midwest and then the East separately from this part of the trip.
Florida North. So go ahead.
Everything.
But it'll be in the summertime when the North Floridian, or when the Floridians move back north.
From Colorado east, kind of in a straight line. Those are the states that we've missed.
Like Doug and Stacy.
Yeah, like Doug and Stacy, and everybody in the east and everybody in the Midwest. We've missed everybody there. And so we have a second half of the trip where we have to go back out and see everybody.
$30 mascara.
I know, right? It's good mascara, but it is it's because a lot of natural mascaras will flake off underneath your eyes, but this one from Red Apple doesn't flake. Okay, Julie, doesn't regular mascara have ground glass or sand to build lashes? You know, I don't know. I think a lot of what bothers me about regular mascara is the chemicals in it and the like antimicrobial stuff in it, more than any physical thing.
Heidi's got a mascara recipe.
Oh, so go check out Rain Country's mascara recipe. So Rain Country Homestead, go check out her.
Girls are back.
Girls are back. So we are going to go have scripture study and our nightly routine with our children. And hi, buddy.
Did you want to say hi to everybody? Why is he wet?
What did you roll in? What did you roll in?
Poop, so I have washing up. That's why it's fine.
Well, that'll do it, candid woman. Just don't let him jump up on your bed.
I got a dirty towel.
For him?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to go dry off the dog. And remember, this is our last live show that is going to be scheduled. We are still up on the schedule on the Homestead Network. We're up there scheduled, but we won't have a schedule because we don't know when we'll have internet.
Florida says sorry.
Right. So anyway.
It's all right. We have loved Florida's a
we gotta go.
State.
We gotta go. We gotta go take care of a wet dog.
All right. So how do you work this thing? This is your technology.
Well, you're the one that shut everything down so that now I can't find anything.
Oh, okay. So minimize that one.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Stop.
There you go.
Stop.
And then stop.
Stop. So.